Good people YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and yeah, both parts of the title are true, and both parts are actually pretty surprising even to me, because through all my videos, it's pretty clear that I'm a full-on dive watch guy, and yeah, dive watches or anything that can time things consistently dominate my wrist time. And as much as I like the look and feel of time-only watches, or watches with fixed bezels, the ones that I've had in my collection just couldn't compete against my divers. So imagine my surprise when the Black Bay Pro, a watch with no timing capabilities and fixed bezel, managed to destroy wrist time records and blow my other divers out of the water. Oh my God. So in this video, I'm gonna go over what I thought about my wearing experience over the past 32 days straight that I had it on my wrist, and also why it's been so compelling, and also why I think it feels so much better than the Black Bay 41 GMT, the Pepsi, that I ended up owning and then returning after just a month. And then I'll get into the other parts that I liked and disliked about the Black Bay Pro. Yeah, then we'll go on from over there. And also, big thanks to video sponsor Watch Crunch. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so the first video that I did on the Black Bay Pro was more about the details, about how it wore and how it compared to other watches in terms of size and thickness and all that stuff. So I held judgment on all the other things until I wore it for a little bit longer. But actually how it wears is a huge reason why I ended up wearing it for 32 days straight, which is something that no other watch that I've ever owned has done. This time around, every morning, I was pulled in by the Black Bay Pro without thinking, and even after 32 days, I could have kept going and wearing it more, but after not wearing it for 3 days, I wore the Black Bay Pro again for 6 days straight, and even that streak is not a very common occurrence. And yeah, one of the main reasons why I kept wearing it over and over and over and over again was because it is seriously in my top 3 most comfortable watches ever. And yeah, the other two being my Zodiac Super Seawolf GMT Sherbet, and I Explorer 2 when I had it. And yeah, this is despite the watch being, supposedly like too thick. And I know that there will forever be people who will say that it's too thick, but for me, after just the initial thought of like, oh, that looks a bit thick, right when I picked it up from my AD, the thickness of the watch did not cross my mind after that. I wanted to say in my first video after wearing it a week that the thickness was a non-issue, but once again, I held off on that judgment just to give myself a little bit more time because things could change, who knows. But nothing's changed since then other than the fact that I think about the thickness and all that stuff even less somehow. And yeah, when I look at it from its side, what's on my wrist, I mean, which is, usually how people see watches when it's on their wrist, to me, it just looks like it's a Black Bay 58 that is just a touch thicker because of an added function, so it doesn't really feel that off. And the thickness doesn't hinder comfort, and comfort to me is an unbelievably important part of a watch. I cannot stand it when a watch is just stuck in one position and it feels like I can't move my wrist around, and it just feels like my circulation's been cut off and it's just no good. And I've had sizing issues with my Black Bay Blue, Black Bay 58 Blue from the start, and it's partly why it's for sale. And yeah, shoot me an email at thewatchidiot@gmail.com if you're interested, and I'll be doing a video on why I'm gonna be selling it and what finally pushed me over the edge on that end. The Black Bay Pro, on the other hand, wore like a dream from the start. I mean, the extra weight is well managed and it makes the watch feel even more solid on the wrist, and the bracelet thankfully fit me perfectly because of that TFIT clasp, which I'm gonna get into more details a little bit later on. Also, the 39mm size of the watch made the watch look and feel much more manageable, and also it happens to be my sweet spot for watch sizes. So yeah, the size alongside the comfort plus the aesthetics, of course, made it a watch that I wore for 32 days straight, and a total of 41 days out of the available 49 days, which is crazy. And all of the reasons laid out here and also in the rest of the video makes this probably my second favorite watch behind my beloved Tudor Pelagos. Yeah, I mean, just wearing a good, solid, comfortable watch is such a nice thing, and I think we can all get behind that idea at the very least. Something else we can get behind is video sponsor Watch Crunch, and Watch Crunch is a new discussion platform built for better watch discussions, and it was built by a group of watch nerds like us who just got tired of the negativity and the bling over substance stuff that was just way too prevalent on other platforms. And yeah, they just wanted to build a platform that was inviting, friendly, you know, not intimidating. Yeah, just yeah, specifically for watch nuts just like all of us here. Yeah, it's a friendly community of real watch lovers that just love talking about watches regardless of the price and the brand. And yeah, this is one of the really big reasons why I'm loving this, because it's this sort of environment that I try to create here on this channel by talking about, you know, all kinds of watches that I like just because I like them. But of course, YouTube is YouTube. So yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how much I wanted something like Watch Crunch until I found them. So yeah, now I'm really happy that they exist. Oh, and also the overall user experience on Watch Crunch is super intuitive and sleek, and also just being engaging and fun, which is great. And yeah, they also have a dedicated team working and just constantly pushing out new features just to make the experience that much better. So yeah, come and follow me on Watch Crunch and check the site out for yourself. And there's a link in the pinned comment and also in the description to a thread that I started about this topic. So yeah, go ahead and check out the discussion, and hope to see you there. So this has its own section just because it's an important point to note, especially because I got the Black Bay GMT, but then I had to return it pretty much within a month. And yeah, the big thing the Black Bay Pro has going for itself is that it's got a compact wrist presence of a 39mm watch, and the 20mm lug width and the bracelet go perfectly like any other Black Bay 58. So visually, that makes the watch so much more manageable. And then the only thing that is perhaps a bit off, depending on how you look at it, is that it gets a little bit thicker when you see it from the side. But that's literally it. Yeah, the Black Bay GMT Pepsi didn't work for me, mainly because it felt much more bloated, because it is bigger in every single dimension. And when I saw it on my wrist, it was 41 millimeters, which technically isn't bad, but it had a very stout 22mm lug width stance and the bracelet, all of which made the Black Bay GMT's footprint bigger, and visually it looked much bigger because of all that. And also it's got a longer lug to lug, and I think it's right around 50mm as well. All that extra dimension in every direction is a lot of extra metal, so it's gonna weigh more on top of an already very hefty wrist presence, and that's why I ended up returning it after owning it for barely a month. I mean, it just felt too big and cumbersome in every single way, and I just didn't enjoy the experience. I mean, the Black Bay Pro, on the other hand, like we said, it only has to contend with a thicker case side, which, like I've said before, hasn't affected my wearing experience in the slightest bit. In every other way, it just looks like another Black Bay 58. The TFIT clasp played a huge role in the overall comfort, and it was a big part in why the watch was so wearable. I mean, first of all, I was able to get the fit perfectly right from the start, which, you know, set my experience off in the right direction. But I was able to also adjust the size on the go, which means that I was able to pretty much not worry about what the weather's like and where I'm gonna be going when I wanted to wear it. Because like I said before, I am super picky about how a watch fits on my wrist, and I can't stand it when watches are tight. And right now it's summer and wrists expand and contract all the time, and usually if I know that I'm gonna be outside and I know that my wrist is gonna expand, I'm gonna skip most watches on bracelets and wear something that's on a rubber strap, because that can just be adjusted really easily. But on my recent trip to Philly, yeah, I wore the Black Bay Pro, and yeah, when I needed to, I expanded the bracelet, and when I wanted to contract it, boom, I just did it again, just as easily. So yeah, honestly, if it wasn't for the TFIT clasp, I really don't think that I would have been able to wear this watch for 32 days straight. So yeah, I mean, quick adjust clasp are an absolute game changer, and every single watch should have it at this point. So I talked a lot about comfort, but the watch also has to look good, and the Black Bay Pro is a super handsome watch. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of this Explorer 2 look. I mean, I had the 42mm Polar Explorer 2, which I sold because it just wore too big, but you know, I love that look, and I love the look of the 1655, which to me looks just about as different as a watch can be apart from the bezel, but that's for another video. I love the handset that we've got here. I'm a big fan of the snowflake hands. I love that they put it on the 24-hour hand, and I love that they made it yellow, and it gives the watch a far more, you know, modern, sort of North Flaggy, vibey feel, I guess. Also, I like that everything is very high contrast with no shiny metal surrounds on the hands or the indices like on the Pelagos. And yeah, I love that the centers are black, which adds to the tool look, and it also hides the giant bases that Tudor makes for their hands, which look a little bit too big on the Black Bay 58s. And of course we have the indices, which are 3D lume plots, which is great because I love lume and I absolutely love three-dimensional elements on the dial. And yeah, here's a lume shot, and it's pretty solid, and I mean, but it's not quite as strong as the white lume on the Black Bay 58s, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I guess I wish that they made the lume plots white, you know, just so they could have made the entire, make it all a lot brighter, but you know, oh well. A part of the wearing comfort is just how solidly it's been built, and it feels it when you hold it in your hands. I mean, I love the density of the watch head and how it feels on the back of my wrist, and alongside a bracelet that fits perfectly and a beautifully made clasp. I mean, it all amounts to a watch that feels like it can do anything, and that's exactly what I would want from a watch that, you know, is supposed to be an adventure watch. Adding to that, I absolutely love how brutally efficient the dial is, because everything is black and white other than the secondary GMT function and also one line. And I love the placement of the date window, and I love the placement of the date window and the rest of the cardinal indices. I mean, they're all equidistant from the minute track. And finally, the movement has been incredible. I mean, it's been running constantly for 49 days, basically 50, and it's only gained 43 seconds. That's 0.88 seconds a day, which is just incredible performance, which further makes me want to wear this watch much more. And yeah, I mean, I cannot be happier about the accuracy. Yeah, so there aren't any glaring issues that I have with the Black Bay Pro. After all, it's one of my absolute favorite watches, the second favorite watch. And yeah, I mean, most of the stuff that I talked about in the first video about being a little about the Fotina or the riveted bracelet, you know, they haven't been an issue at all while wearing the watch, because they aren't really that noticeable when they're on the wrist and in different lights. Although I of course think that crisp white lume and oyster style bracelet could have made this watch even better. But yeah, I mean, I love the bezel as it is, but I do think it would have been really awesome if Tudor just changed up the formula a little bit and gave us a rotatable steel bezel, because that would have retained the look, but it would have made it a bit more unique, and it would have given us, you know, much more capability, and I would have been able to time things as well, which is something that, you know, I do like to do, like, well, maybe a bit too much. And finally, in the end, I do think that Tudor should have developed a thinner GMT movement for the 58 case, because it's been 4 years since the initial release of the Black Bay GMT, and yeah, I mean, making a GMT movement for the 58Ks was the next logical step, considering how popular the Black Bay 58 line, you know, has been. But yeah, I mean, I'm not enjoying the watch any less for it, obviously. So there you have it. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Black Bay Pro now that I've told you how insanely comfortable it is. And as always, hit that like button and that subscribe button and all the good buttons, because they all help the channel grow and feed the algorithm gods, and yeah, and help the channel reach new watch nuts just like us. So yeah, until the next video, good day.